What is the true financial cost of smoking cigarettes? This is a question that a lot of people probably already know. Everybody, of course, knows the health risk involved with smoking cigarettes, but today we're going to cover cigarettes and vapes, two of the most popular ways to, of course, smoke nicotine. And we're going to see just how cost effective that smoking really is. The history of smoking actually dates back all the way to 5000 BC, and then once the Europeans introduced it to the Americans in the 16th century, that's when the consumption of tobacco just drastically skyrocketed and became what we know today. Today, nearly 940 million males actually smoke from the ages of 15 and older, whereas for the females, nearly 193 million females aged 15 or older actually smoke. This means that nearly 17% of the entire world's population smokes tobacco, which is almost 1 in 5 people. The average retail price for a pack of cigarettes in the United States is $8, whereas in the UK, their pack of cigarettes for Marlboros is actually almost in the top 5 globally for how expensive it is, but is lost to Australia, which is the most expensive spot to buy a pack of cigarettes that you can buy for nearly $26 per pack. So let's start breaking down some numbers that we can look at just to see how expensive smoking really is. The average cigarette consumption among daily smokers is actually 12 cigarettes per day. With 20 cigarettes per pack at $8, we can take that math and see that it comes out to roughly $4.80 per day, which would be about $33 per week and $1,700 per year just by smoking cigarettes. Now, if you're somebody in Australia, the number one most expensive place in the world to be smoking, then you're going to be looking at $26 per pack with the same 12 cigarettes per day. Let's just take that average number, which will come out to $1.30 a cigarette, and then multiply that number by 12, which will give you $15 a day, $105 a week, and $5,500 a year, which is absolutely crazy. Of course, those are still US dollars that we're implying that in Australia, but what a big number to be looking at. Now, of course, if you're somebody that can roll their cigarettes and save some money, it does save a lot of money, but that's still money you could be putting elsewhere. So when we look at rolling cigarettes, you can actually save up to 75% versus paying for packs of cigarettes in the store. This is pretty much going to be as close as you can save, is about 75%, which makes it spending about $500 a year by rolling cigarettes instead of buying them by the pack. Sorry, Australians, if that's as much as you can save is 75%, you're still up over $1,000 and you're going to be closer to $1,300 a year by rolling. But you can save more money. So by looking at this, we can take those numbers and we can also put that in an investment and just see what it comes out to. You're smoking the average 12 cigarettes per day, and you live here in the United States of America where it's $8 per pack. If you were to have a 3-year investment with 3% rate of return, you could be putting that $1,700 away if you're buying packs into an investment and come out with roughly $5,400 at the end of that 3-year term. You could buy a better car, you could be putting that towards student loans, you could be going on a vacation. It'd be a good foot forward versus smoking. Now, if we were to do that same number and put all the rate of return, the $1,700 a year, but instead of a 3-year term, we put it in for a 30-year term, we could actually come out with nearly $80,000 at a 30-year term that you would be putting away into an investment and having that money versus smoking it away, literally. Even if you're somebody that doesn't smoke as much or you just roll your cigarettes, as previously mentioned, we can look at $500 a year smoking, let's say, over a 3-year term with 3% rate of return. You'd be looking at roughly $1,600, which is not as much, but $1,600 could still get you a very, very good vacation. It could be a good way to get your foot in the door at a better car or vehicle or pay off of some debt instead of burning a cigarette. Now that same $500 at 3% rate of return, if you were to put that in a 30-year plan, you could walk away with roughly $25,000, which is a good amount of money. And even though the inflation is out of control right now, that $25,000 could be a good start towards a down payment and pay off some debt as well. Or you could go on a really fancy vacation. You could even put into a really nice vehicle. Of course, you probably wouldn't be able to get like the brand new vehicle, but you could at least have that down payment for it instead. This is why I say it's very important to try to quit bad habits, and it doesn't just have to be smoking. Smoking, as you can see, is just very, very popular, with 17% of the population actually smoking. And that's why I wanted to look at these numbers and just tell you how important it is, not just from a health standpoint, but financially, how devastating it can be to your wallet. Another big smoking problem is actually going to be the vapes. They're very popular in modern day now, and they started back in 1927 with Joseph Robinson came to the idea of an electronic cigarette. But it was Herbert Gilbert who made the vaping popular in 1963, and then it wasn't, of course, until the mid-2000s when we seen e-cigs really take off, and this was all because of a Chinese firm that actually made them more popular. According to a research done at UCSF School of Nursing, they have concluded that most people that vape will spend nearly $2,000 per year, which means it's actually more financially crippling to be vaping versus smoking cigarettes. Now, if we were to look at that $2,000 per year, that would be nearly $40 a week that you're spending on vaping, which comes out to roughly $5.50 a day that you put into smoking a vape. If you were to take that $2,000 a year with the 3-year term for 3% rate of return, it would have close to $6,500. If you're somebody that's looking for more long-term investments, you could put that same $2,000 down for a 30-year plan at a 3% rate of return and get $100,000. That is almost enough to buy a half a house in today's world. That is enough to do a lot of stuff in today's world. Of course, you can't live off that, but that is a lot of money to be smoking away. And looking at this long term, you can just see how many other things you're missing out on by smoking instead of putting that money in an investment. And you don't just have to put it in an investment. That's what I always recommend because it generates more money. But you can, of course, use that same $1,700 or that $2,000 a year and go on a vacation, buy a better vehicle, put it towards your debt, right? You can buy good lingerie. There's tons of stuff that can be done with that money that's better for your health, better for your entire life. But financially speaking, putting that money into a Roth IRA or a 401k is just the best way to go about it because it generates more money. You'd be better off putting that money in the stock market, putting it in the S&P 500 or Dow Jones and watching that money grow over time versus literally burning it away. Now, I would suggest to not quit cold turkey. I've heard horror stories of that happening. And of course, it's very hard to quit. But I do think by just looking purely at these numbers that it should be enough for somebody to slowly step back from smoking and realize that maybe this is some of the reasons we have struggled financially a little bit without even realizing it. It's one of the number one ways that people can get caught up in the fact that they don't realize just how much money they're spending and that what that money can be going towards something else within their life. If you want to check out more ways that you can do things with your money, such as investing, you can check out this video over here.